Hello, this is Ricky from Shing True Sharp rework, and making this video about the manufacturer and vendor account revocation on Sword Buyer's Guide, and basically just trying to explain everything. First off, I want to say that I have no grudge or any type of say upset or anything over this whole ordeal. Mainly because I'm not surprised this had happened. I mean, there were several incidents I ran into with their main supplier and manufacturer over there, and the incident, even though I was trying to be extremely polite and apologetic, but for some reason, it doesn't seem to work really well. I think mainly has to do with because that manufacturer would like to be the only like katana supplier on that website. So on that website, pretty much like that person, which is the partner of the website, is the only person that's selling katanas. I think he wants to let everybody believe he is like a man that's like to communicate with China or whatnot. He knows it all or something like that. I'm not exactly sure what the whole ordeal is, but which is fine with me. Mainly because in the beginning I really have no clue about the type of status that he wants to be at or something. So, and a lot of things that I said is the things that I know that happens in China or what people use in China. And basically I just say it, and because people were asking questions or they were trying to discussing an issue, and I just mentioned it. And I think he got upset because he wasn't, how do you say, agreeing to that due to his manufacturer. I mean, obviously he doesn't make any swords. None of them, make any swords. Like me, I don't make the swords. We get all our swords and supplies from China, and from different forges and such. So what happened is his forge is telling him something, our forge is telling us something, and they're different or doesn't match, supposedly. It's, for example, we have our higher end Budo series blades, which are iron sand based, straight from a smith forge that's being processed and everything. And we're making a video on the whole ordeal from beginning to the end, by the way. It just take a little time because right now it's not really good season to produce steel. Usually start doing it during around fall and winter time. And by that time, our smith will be able to make a video for us about the whole process from beginning to the end, how Budo is made. So that part, is not a big deal. It just takes time. And I understand, a lot of their concerns. Because a lot of forge, they have their own stuff. For example, our suppliers, they have their specialty at certain steel or certain product. So does their forge or their supplier have their own specialty and product, and everybody think their stuff is probably like the best. And I'm pretty sure all of them are great, and there's nothing wrong with that. And to be honest, I think a lot of complaint they're talking about me arguing with I guess manufacturers and or being disrespectful. I think what happened is and I understand exactly what they're talking about. Basically, what happened is when you initially get on the forum, people are very opinionated on a lot of stuff, and so when I say something, and they'll say, "Oh, that's not gonna work," or "This is not gonna," and then so basically, I'm trying to explain and then try to tell them, "Okay, this is what I'm doing. This is what we're trying to do, this and that," and then try to explain clearly, and and I'll be honest, not one time I remember I'm being extremely rude or cursing them out or anything like that. I think what happened was is some type of ego thing. It's like if I think I know a lot about some type of area, irregardless it's swords, cars, or anything like that. Like in my own mind, and this happens to people a lot. In my own mind, I would think that like I knew everything. I'm better than everybody. This happens to majority of the time, male, in our human species actually. That's why you heard the term egomaniac or whatever this and that. The thing comes down to it. A lot of time, guys tends to think really highly of themselves in intelligence and knowledge and skill. So what happens is when they're questioned or when they're when someone don't agree with what you're saying, and then others do, and somebody says, no, that's not really how it works. See, this is how it works, and it will be better. People get upset, and they think you're trying to insult them or insulting their intelligence. That's it. That's the word. And then so they get extremely upset over it. But to be honest, it's not the case at all. It's like if you're doing something, you're working at your, try to fix something at the house, and you think you know what you're doing, and somebody came up to you, like your cousin or your brother, even whatever, this and that. They try to tell you, hey, that's not the way you do it, blah blah blah, this and that. Like almost feels like they're talking down to you. But I think sometimes people misunderstood because they don't understand that mainly the other person is trying to help you or trying to explain to you, because they are not trying to break down your ego or talk down to you. They're just trying to explain to you how things work, because they can tell that you really have no idea how it works. Because you're either doing the long way or the wrong way or something that's not going to work. And so most of the time, people are just trying to help, or try to tell you something that you might not know. But to you, you feel like you know everything, because it just that throughout your lifetime, you've never been, I guess, defeated in certain things or competed in certain things where you were defeated, and or you were always kind of on top of things. Like you're always like a leader or a person, whatever. Always listens to you. You gave advice where a lot of people don't know. But this is the thing that I always learned, that there's always somebody better. And there's always somebody that's gonna know more than you. I mean, you can't just be like a person that really knows everything. But a lot of times we tend to forget those kind of things. So when somebody brings something new or says something new, we tend to discredit it and saying, because you never seen it before. And even though when they show it to you, like right in front of you, or present it right in front of you, you still don't believe it, because you don't know how to do it. And once you don't know how to do it, and then you assume it's some kind of lie or deceiving or whatever. And this happens a lot, actually. I mean, I'm the same way. If I am an expert at something and somebody tells me something different than the stuff that I have been known for my whole life, I would most likely rejected the idea. And there's no doubt about it. And there's nothing wrong with that. And basically, I think the misunderstanding that we have a lot on this website is due to this. What I know and what I've been experienced with and what I have been told are things that other people is not being experienced or being told, or incorrect. Now, for example, the 1095 high carbon spring steel that's imported from US, the people that they deal with may have Chinese 1095 steel, which work just fine. But I'll be very honest with you, this is something that's completely different than a lot of different manufacturer and vendor in China or forges that tells me. And it's I don't know if it's type of miscommunication or not. Now, you guys already seen my video about, I just do a quick search and there's a buttload of steel company that stocks American 1095 spring steel. When you Google translate it, there's no way to hide it. But for them, they have this belief, I guess, because their manufacturers been telling them for years there's no such thing as American 1095 steel in China. It's almost like a delusional state of self-belief, I guess. It's really hard to explain because I can't find a reason for it, because there's like evidence right there, but even they're seeing it, it goes back to what I was talking about. It's like they've been through, I guess, things the way they are for so long that even when they are seeing it in front of them, they're like, oh, it's a lie, it's a lie. I mean, it's really confusing. But I mean, I get what they're saying. When we brought something that's American or supposedly higher quality, it would make them look bad if they're still using Chinese quality stuff, as in because supposedly Chinese doesn't make high quality stuff, which is untrue. I think the misunderstanding over steel types, whatnot, is due to the purpose that how you want to make the sword. Now, for example, if I use Chinese T10 steel, which is perfectly fine, and I want to do it for normal cutting and things of that nature, and take decent amount of abuse, which is fine, and there's nothing wrong with that. It's not a crappy steel or anything like that. The whole point about it, the reason why that I would mention American 1095 is because American 1095, you can basically temper it and stiffen it enough to where it won't bend. Literally won't bend when you cut misaligned on hard impact, hard targets. The reason why, let's say for example, we say a beater blade. A beater blade means that like you can literally take this blade and just start beating on things. It's the whole objective of the blade is like, like battle ready. You chop here, chop there. You don't have to worry about edge alignment or whatever. It's not going to bend or anything like that. And the steel we use, American 1095, because that's the only steel that's available to us where we can differential harden it and stiffen it enough where it would flex really good but won't take a set. I mean, if we use T10 to do that for us, we can't provide the same capability as the blade would bend. But there's nothing wrong with that. Here's the reason why. First off, T10 is not that easy to bend at all. Not one bit. What they say, the Chinese 10, which doesn't exist. Like, from my experience, that Chinese people don't make 1095. Chinese people make T10 or T10A. All the 1095 carbon steel are imported from US to China. The reason why that when I type in American 1095 spring steel, all these 1095 spring steel, American imported, whatever pops up, reason being because they're like very common actually in China, extremely common. So I'm not exactly sure, who or what gave the confusion. Now maybe they're right. Maybe the 1095 spring steel that's advertised on Google are actually Chinese 1095 high carbon spring steel. But maybe they're just lying. All these companies are lying and they're telling people it's American to jack the price up. They may be right. You know what I'm saying? I mean, it's highly unlikely, but maybe they know some inside information. I really don't. But it just from all the forgers that I talk to, whatever. I mean, when they say 1095, it means American 1095. There's no Chinese 1095. There's only Chinese T10, and and that's like they're almost equivalent to a 1095 high carbon steel. I mean, but I think the difference in opinion and information, it's like, it's lost in translation. I think that's one of the main reasons. But to be honest, it's not really a big deal. I mean, I think it depends on what the consumer wants. If you want something that's, differential hardened with real hormone, with nice temper line look, and you want a durable blade, and you don't want it to get set real easy, I think both T10 and 1095 is great. And then just for us on that particular part, the reason why we produce those is because we get a lot of negative feedback when we make performance cutters. Most concentration is on performance, cutting performance. So people will say, well, if you make it too thin, it'll bend, or edge too thin, it'll chip, this and that. And so it's impractical. So that's the reason why we made the 1095 beater. And then we sell it at the price we sell, because it's like we can't make stuff like that, not that sharp and durable blade. It's really not something that's really hard and expensive to do. It really isn't. Differential hardened and everything, we can provide, durable product, with less refinement. It's not a big deal. So that's the reason why is so that way when people look at our brand, they're not going to just think, well, they're just going to make thin blade performance cutters. Because HSTS is gradually shifting, into making more durable product, more strong product, rather than just cutting performance. Because we're starting to realize the market-wise, people really like more durable things rather than extremely high performance. And we also price it really cheap, mainly because we're still not really looking for profit. The reason why me and my partner both, we have day jobs, and we're just doing this part-time, try to build a good name. And so we're trying to bring out a really high quality product at a really low price. So basically, what's end up happening is, I guess, some vendors may not like it, other vendors, because we're basically underselling them. We're selling higher quality product at lower prices. So, I mean, if you look at the fittings, we use steel or iron fittings, and the Skamaki, the Ito wrap is all professionally done. Things of that nature is just, makes our product stand out a little more. And then we use a better steel, as in, well, I wouldn't say better steel. We use a certain intended steel for a certain intended purpose, which may mislead people believe it's better steel. But to be honest, I really wouldn't say which is better, which is not. It really depends on the purpose that you want out of the swords. So, I mean, it's perfectly understandable that they're trying to tell everybody that we're lying and we're not using certain type of steel, because some of the steel may not be accessible to them through their supplier and manufacturer. Or it's accessible, they may not know. Like, what I'm saying is, maybe their supplier thinks that, okay, the Chinese made 1095, again, which I never heard. I only heard American made 1095. But this could be like I said, lost in translation or communication. I mean, but they may think, okay, the Chinese 1095 works just as good as American 1095, or T10 works just as good as American 1095, which they may be right. Maybe they can temper it, and it's the whole process of tempering it. They can heat treat it just as good. They may have higher skill level smith and better steel stock, that kind of deal, and it could be anything. And to be honest, I don't think there's anything that needs to be distinguished as in steel wise, because I think in this business we're not the first people that came out with anything. I mean, a lot of people being around for a while, they have good experience on what the steel can or cannot do. So I mean, you don't have to believe that we have better steel or anything of that nature, or we use better steel. It's we use the American 1095 spring steel because we need the spring temper. We need it to be flexible on the mune of the blade, which is the spine of the sword. The reason why we want that is we don't want the sword to be, take a set really easy. That's one of the main thing. Because on T10 blades, our suppliers just can't temper it to where it won't bend, when you cut misalign on a really hard target. And I have experience with it even on mats, it'll bend. So I mean, it's one of the things, I guess, it's like we can really find somebody that does really good tempering on certain steel, but another manufacturer may be able to find better smith than us that knows proper tempering and heat treat to where a certain type of steel will not take a set so easy, will have the same performance as American 1095. So I mean, it just depends on, like who's making the blades. So basically on the forum, when they're talking about it, Mr. Southern and their moderators, they're basically what they're basically trying to say is this. They're saying that we are really not using American 1095. We're using Chinese 1095, which is no different than what their manufacturer is doing, or their supporter, which is using 1095 steel or whatever, this and that, Chinese 1095 or T10. And so therefore our quality of our product is not really higher. It's the same as their product. That's basically what they're saying. Or, like the steel and all that stuff, it's basically the same as their product, and their product probably is even higher quality than our product. That's basically what they're saying. So, to us, it's like, we don't mind they're saying that, because we never thought they have, less of a perfect product, whatever, than us. That's not the case at all. We do our own thing, and we have a reason why we do our own thing, and we're not trying to compete with any manufacturer. The only reason we do what we do is because we have a lot of complaints of our previous products, where people didn't like certain things. They didn't like the fact that the sword may bend. They didn't like the fact that the sword may chip. So what happened is we have to continuously to improve. We have to find ways to where the sword won't bend and the sword won't chip. You see what I'm saying? Now the reason why I may have trying to, push this idea that, we're using certain steel and this and that, I think what happens, they're probably thinking I'm trying to basically show that everybody's stuff is no good besides ours. And which is not the case. The case is because we have a bad rap on when we started in the business making performance cutters. So I need to change that reputation by telling people right now we're doing something different. We're using better steel, and we're increasing durability to where our blades is not going to be easily take a set and bend, or it's going to chip, whatever. We're making changes. And I think by me trying to tell people we're making changes and we're using these type of steel, we're not, because we used to use T10 and we no longer use them. And the reason why we don't use T10, and I try to explain, because we can't do the same thing with T10. Now, like I said, it's not because I'm saying other people's T10 or their Chinese 1095 is weak and we're much more superior. I think it also has something to do with like kind of paranoia, maybe, that they feel that way, and also like misinterpretation of things from our side. Is because I started to notice a lot of newer guys, newer buyers, they don't really know what we've been through before or what we were making before, because they just see our new product and then just assume that, okay, it's a katana, okay, and then they're making katana, you're making katana, and then you're now making katana with American 1095, and now they're making katana this and that, and then you seems like your stuff supposedly better, blah blah blah, this and that. And I totally get why some people would have that mentality, because they didn't know that before we were known for a much weaker blades, supposedly, simply because due to the profile that we're running thin and wide blade, which a lot of people dislike, because the whole thing is they say it will bend or the edge will chip. So this is pretty bad for us as a manufacturer, because if we continue to make this type of blades, that's what people will say. It's like, yeah, they run pretty sharp edges, and then but their sword chips and bends because they run a thin mass cutter geometry. So I don't know if you guys can see what I'm trying to say. We have to change that image if we want to continue to make swords and everything. Is by start changing our product and then making into tougher, more durability product, so we can balance the whole HSTS lineup. What I mean by that is we can still continue to make performance cutters, and then, but when people start talking, well, that blade will chip and blah blah this and that, then we say, well, you know what? Then you can buy the 1095 beater, because the blade won't take a set and they won't chip real easy. So we want to have variety of different type of blades for a variety of different kind of people. But I think me trying to install this idea that we're changing and we're making different swords is turning into a competition thing from other vendors. Is they start thinking that we're trying to compete with them, or we're saying things trying to make them look bad, creating trouble. And which I understand where they're coming from, because it's like they didn't have to go through the same thing we went through, because right in the beginning they already went for the tough. We make tough blades, tough cutters, everything tough. Yeah, you still perform well, this and that. But what we were looking at in the beginning is it's gotta perform like superb. I mean, it's gotta just slice mats without even swinging, slice bottles without even swinging. It's gotta be super sharp. Really aerodynamic profile, and then able to pull, 2-3 triple cuts before the mask falls off. That's what we were concentrating on. We weren't concentrating on tough. We were concentrating on performance, only performance. So, but we had no idea that was going to make us look actually like bad. Like our performance is actually to other people is weakness, and they don't have really no need for performance, because they're not going to go out and then cut 3-4 mats, like before they fall down. So the gradual changing and shifting from our original objective to new is a very hard road. The reason why is because we still try to maintain good performance, but yeah, we have to increase durability and change durability. And this comes down to why we're using different type of steel and things of that nature. Stuff like Budo. Now, on Budo, for example, it's not something that we developed. No. It was something that I've been searching for a while, that who's making something different and be able to, have a very aerodynamic, thin edge profile with extreme performance, yet with a lot of durability. Now, first you have to understand one thing. Budo is not a wide, thin blade that we used to make. It's a traditional geometry blade. On traditional geometry blades, you can modify Niku. Basically, is the angle and shape of the convex to gain performance. And that's basically what we're doing with the Budo in the arcade. So when we do those blades, we run really low Niku on it. And then a thinner profile on the Mune. But it's not as thin as normal performance cutter, like 3-4 millimeter. It's still like 4.5 and up, 5 millimeter, things of that nature, a thickness. Because we still want to try to keep it more traditional rather than wide blade look. Because we're trying to get that bad image we had before, which we make cheater blades or whatever, wide thin blade, whatever. out of HSTS name. So we want to first off get our traditional lineup right, and then still try to maintain performance and durability. Now, on a lot of stuff question, mainly not why, I'm sorry. We're basically they're saying we're lying about the steel we use, this and that. I think what happened was a lot of time is they're thinking we're trying to compete with them and trying to say that we have better steel, and they don't have as good steel as us. And again, like I said, this is where the misunderstanding is. We don't have better steel. We use certain steel for a reason. It's because the type of performance that we're trying to achieve and the type of durability we need to completely change the original image of Shing True Sharp, which was originally we're making wide blade performance cutters. That's all it is. Now, I understand why they say we're lying and things of that nature, and basically saying that they can't find anything or anybody that produce what we're talking about. Now, I'll be straight up with you. Yeah, I mean, if you can find it, then I wouldn't hide it, because we have something that's really special for us. We produce these things, or we find people who produce these things, and you know, it was really difficult road, because it was a lot of phone calls, it was a lot of research, and a lot of collaboration with our supplier, and him going out and find things for us, find other manufacturer for us, find other smith for us who are making what we want to make. So it was really a lot of work, and I'm not really about to just share it with everybody and tell everybody and then say, you know what, okay, this is where we get our stuff, and you know, then there's nothing make us HSTS anything special or more better than anybody at all. Our advantage right now, what we can offer is we can offer really sharp blades that's properly profiled, and that can handle really hard targets. Now, is this a super steel or indestructible sword? Definitely not. Definitely not. It's the fact that a lot of people are saying when you run a real sharp edge and it'll chip and break on bamboos, because what they're thinking, that's exactly goes back to what I'm talking about. What they're still thinking is we're running a wide XL type of geometry, or senkato, which is a Hirozukuri blade, real thin for mats. And that's the image I'm trying to say, is I'm trying to change. What we're doing actually is we're running old traditional geometry configuration blades. And instead of using thin edges, we use different niku in different positions and different areas, different angles, to achieve the performance and cutting ability of Shing True Sharp swords. So it's not really that we're making a really thin edge blade or Samgato match cutter, and then we're saying that it can handle bamboos all day long. No, these blades has a lot of niku on it. All of them do. It just, the matter has very low niku, as in like our 1095 performance cutter, which that blade pretty much has no niku on it, and it cannot handle hard targets. The Budo actually has a lot of niku on it, Hira niku on it, which is a complete curvature of the whole cutting plane. And then RK, same thing. But we manipulate those type of niku and to gain cutting performance. But it's definitely not indestructible or anything super steel to that nature. It just works for us for the type of application we're looking for. Because what we're trying to make is a very good performance match cutter that also has the durability like a normal battle ready sword. the part of the thing that you have to worry about when you try to make something like that, one is the type of steel you make. Type of steel you use. Who's making it, tempering, and all that stuff, flexibility of the blade. The other thing is by using edge profile to further gain durability and cutting performance. The edge profile itself is when you run a certain amount of Niku, it can handle a certain amount of targets. And we have a very good idea, what type of Niku that we will be running to have both performance and durability. So edge profile takes 50% of our sword making. But because we have a really good idea how the edge profile works, so this is the reason why that when the certain vendor challenged us, I think on one of the thread, and basically what he was trying to do, he was trying to like publicly insult me and the Hongxing TS, and basically saying we're bullshitters and this and that, which I don't mind, and I totally understand why he's so upset with us all the time. And he told me in private message because some stuff I said on an eBay listing. I mean, I feel really bad about it, and I apologize, that I said certain things, but I think he doesn't understand. When we said those things, it was meant for a lot of those vendors that was on eBay that was selling junk stuff, that was chopping wood and chopping like steel. Paint containers. These are little iron wires or whatnot, and which has no effect really in what the sword's supposed to do, which is cutting mats and bamboos. So it's like they were doing these basically like kind of destructive tests, on eBay, whatever, this and that, and which has nothing to do with this vendor. But I mean, this vendor basically was doing the same thing, but the way I feel his blades are a lot tougher than any of those eBay blades, and I had no beef with that, and I know that he was concentrating on durability and this and that, but I think what happened was there was some type of misunderstanding or some type of ego thing maybe, that he feel that I was targeting at him or something, which I really wasn't, because we're completely making different things. And I stressed that in there, and basically the story comes down to it. He tried to call us out, whatever, this and that. It was getting pretty ridiculous with the comments that he was making. And from the comments he was making, when I'm looking at it, what he's saying is really totally different, completely different than what I know in China. Basically, what the story comes down to is he wants to tell me that he knows everything in China or in Longquan, and he's more superior as in like knowledge and skill, I guess, or something. So, I don't mind that at all, but I was trying to explain to him I'm not trying to, lie or, say anything, whatever, this and that. It's just some information I receive, I'm just feeding it back. But he's not having it, and then continue to pursue, because I think his objective was trying to get me to be extremely upset, to where I start saying things and whatever, and then so therefore it was like to make me look like I'm an ass or something. I mean, I don't know, but I think that's one of the reasons. So, but in order to stop it, stop the whole argument, and then I basically have to insult him back, because he was getting ridiculous on his insults, and basically had to put him in his place, because I think what happened was his supporter came up and then say, how much their swords are just as sharp or as good as ours, and I was trying to explain the reason why he was making thicker, taller blades or well-built blades is for hard targets, because that's his concentration. And there's nothing wrong with that, and nothing wrong with that at all. But I think he wants people to think his blades are just as good in performance and durability. So which is fine too, but I mean, but if you want to show people your blades is good in performance, what you need to do is probably start doing performance cutting, like on mats, trick cutting or double cuts or whatever, if you can't do it yourself, and I mean, I know he can't do it himself. He's about like, what, like 300 pounds, you know, or something. He's not very, you know, coordinated. I saw him try to cut a bamboo before. On the right side, when he cut, he hold the sword like this, and then when he tried to cut the left side, he didn't know what to do. He started to switch hand. He put his left hand on top or something like that, and he's not quite sure what to do with the sword. He's not trained in using a sword or anything like that. So I mean, I think if you think his product is really good and performs really well, I would recommend like first like lose about like 150 pounds so he can move at least, and then try to probably find somebody that can cut and teach him how to use a sword. Then he can perform really well with his sword to show the performance that his sword is capable of. So he can show the durability and performance of his blades. And I think by doing that is better than just trying to insult us or telling people we're frauds. Because sometimes you have to look into the mirror and then see yourself like, you know, well, what can I improve? You know, instead of, you know, just trying to sabotage, you know, other people. Why don't I beat them at their own game? Why don't I get better? You know, that kind of deal. You know, that kind of things. You know, like for me, like if I was in competing with somebody, and I wouldn't think of try to do different ways to sabotage them or anything like that. See, like on here, basically what they're saying is, I was trying to get a bunch of people, my fans or my supporters, and then to hijack threads, attack, spread untrue experience with brands, whatever, pushing my product, whatever, this and that. That I was like contacting people or something like that, which is, I mean, this particular part, I really don't know exactly what to say because I've never done it. I never like, you know, get my clique of fans and supporters to do anything. Honestly, I don't even know I have fans and supporters. I think I had like 1 or 2 people that was supporting us or whatever, this and that. I mean, we had very few supporters actually, you know, and then, you know, to be honest, I never really like talk to them into hijacking threads or do anything. I think because they do like our product or whatever, this and that, but yeah, we don't have the clique of fans and supporters that's in a network doing all this stuff, whatnot. I mean, I think, but you know what? I mean, I think they may think that way just because how much they praise our product. I mean, you have to understand one thing. When making a Japanese style swords, there are a lot of details that goes into the sword. From the fittings to the the handle, to the ito wrap, to the curvature of the blade, to the whole shape of the blade. And when we make our blades, we're looking at a lot of little tiny details, you know, mainly not because that, oh, we're so high quality. It's because we get so many complaints. I mean, literally complaints on pretty much everything. But in order to improve our product, so we have to start looking at all these little complaints that people made and try to improve upon it. So a lot of people say, like, you know, they'll say to me, even my old customers, like, wow, yo, thanks a lot. You really look into the details. Not really I look into the details. It's if I don't look into those details, people wants to return their sword. They're like, well, you know, this fitting is not perfectly curved this way, therefore I want my money back. Or this blade is not curved to the certain way, therefore I want my money back. Oh, this ito is not perfectly diamond in certain way, therefore I want my money back. I mean, I ran into it all. Because of that, I have to concentrate on every single little detail in order to improve our product's quality to a point where we don't have to get so many returns. So when you see reviews of our blades and this and that, you don't see any really like drastically bad reviews or anything. Mostly it's pretty good. It's not because we make higher quality product. It's we trying to look at all these little areas, so therefore we won't have to take returns or exchanges, because it really is a lot of pain and hassle. So basically, there are a lot of different things they say right here. I'll make a part 2 of the video because it's kind of long and explain